Hello, friends, and welcome to the One Fear Per Year podcast, where we talk about living our most amazing lives and breaking free from any fear that is holding us back. And today, my very, very special guest, and I woke up excited this morning because I knew I was going to talk to him, Nick Demos. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's always a great time and a great pleasure spending it with you.
Aw, I feel the absolute exact same way about you, which is why I signed up for one of your coaching programs, which we'll get into that in a little bit, which it was amazing. But I just want everybody to know just a little bit about you because as I was looking through your credentials and experience, I just kept writing. I was like, okay, Tony Award winning producer, that's super cool. Filmmaker, storyteller, coach. And then I thought I had it all. And I was like, nope. And we're a yoga instructor and an actor and an author and just stepping into these leadership roles now that are so amazing. And I know you've helped so many people. So I want to just talk about fear in your own life with so many accolades and so much that you've done. How has fear shown up in your life?
Huh. I used to be afraid of absolutely everything. And I was so scared of what people thought of me. I was scared of being me. I grew up in rural Montana, and I was this little gay boy in this area that didn't really respect or honor that. The Marlboro man, the cowboy, the all of that sort of stereotype was what was expected of me. To be a football player, to be a wrestler, something, this manly. And here I was, this uber creative kid who wanted to sing and dance. And I realized very quickly that it didn't fit in to that old paradigm. And it created so much anxiety and fear in me of being found out, that that I was gay. Like, you live with that fear until you come out, but also just of who I was. I felt that if I was honest about not only my sexuality, but my creativity and who I was, that I would not be loved by my parents, by my neighbors, by friends, by society. But something happened in my youth that sort of switched it all. There was a moment of realization for me very young. I mean, now in retrospect, at the time I wasn't that young, but there was something that clicked in me in my teen years where I realized that I I was going to die if I didn't make a change, if I didn't make a shift. And I remember laying in bed. I was like 14 years old, suicidal thoughts, and thinking to myself, if I can't get through this fear, if I can't be myself fully, then I'm not going to make it. And just take me. It was like, God, just take me. That was the sentiment that I had. And I really contemplated, what does this mean for me? And thankfully, I had some people who were willing to show up and guide me, like the angels that came into my life after that moment, ultimately, who were like, come to the theater, come to the community, come be a part of the theater, come into this space. I had a dance school teacher we lived across the street from a dance school, and I used to go sit and watch, and she said, get up. And I was like, oh, and she goes, I was like, she said, don't you worry. I'm going to talk to your dad. LaDonna Jimison saved my life. You know, that type of, oh, I'm getting a little emotional talking about this, but that type of angel that just showed up to say, you be you, you be you, because the fear was so intense.
Oh, and you know what? Shout out to all those angels out there. I know we talk a lot about when we're young, and there are those people that say the negative things that we repeat in our head over and over, but there are also those people who see us and can
Yeah.
reach out a hand and help drag us kind of out of that pit that we're in. What an incredible story. Uh, and so many times, people that have experienced the most pain and the most fear, when they have that person or that awareness moment, then step into this transformation that is just unreal. So talk to us a little bit about that transformation, what happened from that point on.
In many ways, I went the opposite direction then and was like, oh, yeah, you think I'm weird? Don't you worry, I'm going to be weird. You know, like I was out there. And I'm not, and I didn't, I was, you know, not really weird, but you know what I'm saying? Like I went to that other place of nobody can stop me now. And I think that I was kind of running away. You know, you either run to something or run away from something. And I was running away from that old life. And I decided I lived for getting out. Everything for me was about running to New York. For whatever reason, I knew that I needed to be on Broadway. I knew that I had a vision and I was going to go towards that vision and nobody was going to stop me. And I began to, I mean, study. I was in dance class every day. Acting class. I was going to be that Broadway star. Like that was it. It was there was just no turning back. By 16, I had my first professional job. By 19, I did my first Broadway tour. I moved to New York. I didn't know anybody there. I didn't care. I was going. Um, and I think that it went from fear to fearless fairly quickly because something in me, it was like a decision, to be honest, that I was going to just make this change and that I had to. And nothing was going to stop that.
That's so interesting that you say that because there's this thing with the pendulum swinging.
Hmm.
You know, that's what comes to mind when you're talking about that. Like you're here and it goes way over here. Like I got something to prove. Dang
Yep.
it. Yeah.
They call it, for me, it was the best little boy in the world syndrome. And what I mean by that is that that little boy inside of me was, while I say I was fearless, I was actually masking the fear with achievement. And you said, oh, you've achieved all these things in your life. And it wasn't until much later in my life, in my 40s, that I had the realization of, wow, this is what you've done is you've been running and trying to prove your worth and your lovability. And all of that culminated at the Tony Awards. So I am there at the Tonys, right? As a nominee, amazing. And I'm sitting in the fourth row and I'm nominated as a producer of for the best musical. And if you've never been to the Tony Awards, which most people haven't, they're very long. They seem like on TV, it seems like, oh, it goes by pretty quick. No, you're there for hours before and you have to dress up and the whole bit and you can't get up to go to the bathroom unless you have a seat filler. You know, it's a whole thing. But we're sitting there and our award is the last award of the night and I'm waiting and we're waiting and we're waiting. And Bernadette Peters comes out to announce with her big mane of hair, gorgeous hair. She walks out. She's got the envelope in her hand and they announced the nominees, and the show that I produce is called Memphis. And Bernadette Peters opens the envelope very slowly, and I'm sitting there like, okay, just say it, just say it, just say it. She takes a deep breath and she says, Memphis. And everyone around me erupts. Our producing team is standing up, everyone's hugging everyone. People are, I'm standing there. I'm just standing there. And two thoughts went through my head. The first was, oh my gosh, thank gosh, my investors are going to get their money back. That was the first thought. And then the second one was, this is it? This isn't how this is supposed to feel. Uh, wow. And I'm like standing there, and the woman beside me, producing partner, was like, get up, go. And they say it's like an out of body experience, and that's what it felt like. Walking up onto the stage to accept the award felt like an out of body experience. But the whole time in my head, it was like I was numb. I was not happy. I just was numb. And I'm looking out at the sea of people at Radio City, and I'm thinking to myself, this is not the life that I want. And I had that realization that I was running, and now I had nowhere to run.
Ooh, wow. That is powerful. So, from having that realization, what changed at that point in your life?
So then I had to do a lot of deep soul searching. I'm 36 years old, and what am I going to do with the rest of my life? I hit the big goal. What now? And that sent me really on my own sort of, I like to joke, my own eat, pray, love journey. But basically, I dove deep into spiritual practice. I went back to therapy because I had been in therapy before from some previous abuse from childhood. But like I dug in deep to be like, who are you really? Who are you without any of this stuff? Who are you without accolades and awards and Broadway and what have you? And what came from that is a deep study. I mean, I went and like lived with a teacher, and they say it's 250 hours or whatever, 200 hours, not 250, 200 hours to be a yoga teacher, right? I clocked in 2,500 hours of training. I was diving into a deep well of um, ancient texts and ancient practices to sort of figure out who I was and who I wasn't. And that led me to deepening my artist, to saying, I don't have to just do Broadway. What if I also direct some documentaries of things that are important to me? What if I can help people in a different way? Not that Broadway doesn't help people, because it does. It's a great entertainment. Entertaining is so important, especially and as the world is dark, it's important. But what if I could help people with their stories? What if I could be a facilitator for personal growth for people the way that I have been held? And that shifted everything, because then it moved out of me running to me being of in service. And that shift was the transformation. I thought it was the first transformation, but that was the transformation ultimately. And that really led me to, now being all the things that you said, the coach, the story. And yes, I still work on Broadway. Yes, I direct films. Yes, and it doesn't need to be one or the other. And that has been a massive shift for me as well, in realization and moving out of the fear. Because now the way I look at fear is, if something scares me, that means I need to lean right to it. What that tells me is that there's something there for me to learn. Something there is going to make me grow. Was it scary for me to direct and be the subject of a personal documentary about body image and really share my body dysmorphia and sexual abuse from childhood? It was scary as hell. It was absolutely frightening to put that out there. But I knew I needed to do it because it scared me. And so that I could grow in the process.
And don't you find that on the other side of those things that are the scariest or the hardest, the most challenging, lie just like your kind of proudest moments and the things that just light you up, the things that bring purpose and meaning into the world?
Yeah, I won an award for that film, small award, a little regional award, right? Not a big Tony Award, not the Academy Award, but that award is very, very meaningful to me in a way that that previous award had felt sort of empty. This award felt so powerful and meaningful, but more than that, the people that have emailed me, that have DM'd me on social, that have reached out to me, that have called me, that have said, I see myself in this. Thank you for making this. This changed my perspective. This changed my life in some way. That's really where the meaning lies for me. And I wouldn't have been able to do that had I not faced the fear.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you've impacted my life, I know, in the work that you've done and in showing up. There was a speech that I was giving recently, and beforehand, I deal with a lot of the nerves and jitters and public speaking stuff. And you had just sent an email out, and it just, everything that it said in there calmed me. It centered me. I was more just like, oh, why am I doing this? What is the purpose behind it? And it just helped quite a bit. So your presence in even the things that might be perceived as small are very impactful, I know, for a
Mm.
lot of people. Now, moving on into this next year, since this is the One Fear Per Year podcast, is there anything in this next year coming up where you feel a little bit of that fear, but you're doing it anyway?
I, yeah, I am writing a book about leadership, particularly around thought leadership, called Being Thought Leadership, that we're moving out of sort of content-based or information-based thought leadership because you can get information anywhere, right? With the AI, it's like a touch of a button, boom, and there's your information. It's the lens in which you put it through, right? So it's really who you are being in the world, and the stories you tell is going to be the new currency. And consequently, I'm writing a book about this. Well, this is bold. This is not a concept that's out there, and I'm really like writing it and doing it. And while I've written before, there's something about this that feels so new, so fresh, and so scary to me. And I already got speaking engagement for it. It's for 40 CEOs I know. Whoop, 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 whoop.
Go.
But that is scary AF. It's scaring me, which is another reason even just talking about it, you know how when you get that fear, you feel it in your belly or you feel it
Yeah.
wherever you feel it, right? I always feel it right in that like gut center area, right? I felt my stomach go, whoa, right? And that means it's good. That means it's supposed to happen. I'm supposed to do this. But it definitely has that like, oh wow, this is a big moment for me in a new way. I've had lots of big moments. We all have. This is a new one for me. It's they say new level, new devil, or whatever that saying is, right? But for me, this is a new fear. This is the fear of the year.
Ooh, I am going to be rooting for you. And the main thing I can say is if you show up authentically who you are, you've done your job. You've nailed it. Everybody's going to love you kind of concept because of that authenticity. That's what I get from you, and the inspiration and encouragement is always like, Janice, just show up, trust the work that you've already done, trust yourself, be you. Um, obviously be prepared and do all that stuff, but you're just a magnificent human being and with so much depth, which people energetically can sense. And then when you start talking, we know that about you. And If you were, no right or wrong answer, but I ask everybody this, to give us the opposite word of fear, like if there's one exact opposite word, what would that word be for you?
Love. Love. It's very simplistic, right? But it's that you're either running towards fear, or you're running towards love, towards beingness. But so maybe it's beingness now. I would have said love before, but maybe it's being.
I really like that. And it's probably going to be part of your book in some way, these
Yeah,
concepts.
that's why that just came out, right?
Yes, which is
Yeah.
that's the cool thing about thought leadership and thinking outside of the box and creating your own frameworks and different things like that. But I love that looking at life is like, am I living in a state of fear right now, or am I living in a state of love? And it's just two very distinct choices. So I absolutely love that answer and I just adore you. So thank you for spending some time with us and just pouring your heart into everything that you do. It is always noticed and always appreciated.
Thank you. It was so good to be here with you today. Thank you so much.
And everybody, go out there, live bold, do that thing that is just in your heart to do. Find accountability, find that helping hand that believes in you until you build up that trust in yourself and that belief in yourself.